being on the playground in grade 3 or 4. It was a competition between a fellow student of mine, and it was boys versus girls, and all the boys were rooting for him, and he drew the best tiger. And then it was my turn, and I don't remember what I drew, but I remember having this competition between artist versus artist.
From a very early age, I really wanted to be a painter. I had no idea what that meant. I think that I understood that it meant being the author of something or creating something.
I usually arrive between 9 and 10, and I change into my painting clothes as quickly as possible and turn the radio on, and I usually just sit and reflect, and I look at the day's work before and kind of really decide where I'm going if I don't already know. Sometimes the subway ride, the commute to the studio is that thinking time for me, in which case I come in and I get to work as quickly as possible. I'm quite impatient, so if I have an idea, it's gessoing the canvas is a burden. So
I feel like my relationship to my studio is always quite contentious. It really depends on kind of how I'm working things out as I'm painting. I feel like as I paint, the goal is kind of to get into this quite meditative state where what I'm thinking and what I'm making are occurring almost simultaneously, and so that what I'm making is not just an illustration of what I'm thinking, and that kind of process of getting into that state, it's almost like a ritual in some ways, and it doesn't always happen right away. And if it never happens during a studio day, I can leave feeling quite aggravated. But then when you do arrive at that space, which might even only be for an hour, it's like magic.
I'll wipe out the canvas sometimes 2-3 times in the studio. I'll work hours to create a piece or do a figure, and it just won't work sometimes. And it's just, sometimes I can't even explain what it is. It just doesn't feel right. And I'll usually give it that shot and put an extra time into it, but I usually know a few hours in that it's not going anywhere. So bad day is when it's just a wipeout time after time. And I'll have 3 underpaintings that just didn't work. On the other side, though, those are the best days because I've explored 3 ideas that I know won't work, and so I guess it's not a waste that way, but it can be frustrating. A good day is when the marks just work the first time. It's rare, but last week I had a day where I dreamt an idea, but I dreamt a figure and I dreamt a landscape, and I came in and I got it first try. In a few hours I was done a good scale painting, and that's rare, but that's like winning the lottery for me.
Gosh, is painting satisfying at all? That is the better question. It can be, but it is sometimes torture. And it's kind of that, again, that just laboring through that torture and working and persevering in the hope that at some moment late in the day, the least unexpected time, it will kind of resolve itself, and that state of being that you've been searching for will manifest itself into an object that transcends your ability to comprehend it.
You're never done exploring, and you're never done learning, and you're never done. Every time you keep going with an idea, it leads to something else, and I think that the shows just continue to flow that way, and yeah, it's rewarding.
The beauty of the practice is that you can always come back the next day, especially when you wreck something. And so it's kind of enjoyable to have that freedom now to be able to destroy something before you leave, and you know that you get to come back the next day. And even though it terrifies you and somewhat disgusts you, and you don't want to face it, but you get to face it. It's kind of like this wonderful privilege.